friends, welcome to Bookish Bliss, our virtual book club. Every week we will dig into a section of chapters in our favorite books. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of Bookish Bliss. We have a lot to discuss today.
Yes, this week we'll be covering chapters 72 through 82 of A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. There will be spoilers in this episode as we will be discussing the last set of chapters in this book.
Yes.
So you do have to read the whole book to listen to this episode. Amanda, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking a High Noon tequila. Grapefruit.
Ooh.
Yes, I'm so excited. I love these. What are you drinking
Nice.
tonight?
I am going to be drinking a Kendall Jackson Pinot Noir, and I'm very excited to be drinking a little red, even though it's very warm out today.
Yeah.
But it's all I have, so.
Yeah. Gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm going to pour on camera, as I always
I'm
do.
actually gonna open while on camera as well today.
Cheers to episode 20.
Yes, cheers. Delicious.
Delicious.
So refreshing on a hot day.
Yeah, nice and warm for my soul to make it even warmer on this warm day.
Yes. Now let's get started with the good stuff and break down ACOWAR Part VII. Over to you, Meg. Please summarize a set of chapters for us.
All right, just like every week for the past 20 weeks, we're going to be breaking down these chapters little by little and then be talking about it later in the plot section. Here we go. Chapter 72. The Archeron sisters' daddy issues are really prominent in this chapter, though I was also shocked when Papa Archeron decided to do something for his daughters and for others for once in his life.
Yeah.
Draken gets his orders from Cassian, and Nesta decides that she is going to be the distraction Feyre needs in order for her to get to the cauldron without too many issues. Chapter 73. The King of Hybern, like the son of a bitch he is, strolls right up to the Weaver and snaps her neck and feeds her to the Naga hounds. Before the king could sense that Amren and Feyre were about to approach the cauldron, he feels Nesta's powers and winnows off to go and find her. But at the end of this chapter, we learn that Amren has been lying to everyone.
Mind blown.
Chapter 74. Who would have thought that we would have seen deception from Amren at the 9th hour of this final battle? Before Feyre can confront her, the cauldron is pulling Feyre's thoughts with it across the battlefield to where Nesta is. The king arrives, and before Nesta can give her killing blow, we see Papa Archeron is with the king. Uh-oh, rip Papa Archeron. We get a moving scene between Nesta and Cassian, a throwdown between Nesta and the king, and ending with Elaine Archeron being the hero we never knew we needed.
Wild.
Chapter 75. Don't you touch her sister, mister. Nesta finishes the job and Feyre is thrown back across the battlefield, back into her body where Amren is yelling at her to keep it together. Amren needs Feyre to be a conduit, and the spell Amren found, thanks to the Suriel, was to unbind her, not control the army. Amren then is so epic, even though it's so sad, and she finishes Hybern's army in less than 10 minutes? Badass.
Badass. So unexpected.
For sure. Chapter 76. Feyre, we have a big problem. The cauldron, now broken into 3 pieces due to the massive spell that was unbinding Amren from her Fey body, is now causing the whole world to be sucked into this void. The cauldron created this world, and with it broken, so would their world. Feyre reforges the cauldron, but the consequences is that Rhys is now dead?
Oh, can't wait to talk about that.
Chapter 77. Bad Rhys lied to Feyre and used all of his power he had left to help her reforge the cauldron to save the world. Feyre and everyone else reading this book is hysterical. Feyre threatens everyone's lives along with more to force the other High Lord's hands into bringing Rhys back. Thank God Baron and Tammy don't suck in this scene, and our man is brought back from the dead. Also, Amren is alive too. Thank the cauldron and the mother.
Thank the cauldron and the mother.
Chapter 78. The Archeron sisters say goodbye to Papa Archeron, and Lucian enters back into the story officially by having another awkward interaction with Elaine. Elaine does invite him back to Valaris only after being elbowed in the ribs by Feyre. Hopefully their story will get wrapped up soon because this awkward tension between them makes me feel uneasy.
Yeah, agreed.
Chapter 79. We finally get to have a brief sit-down conversation with Draken and Miriam before Feyre asks them to take the cauldron and stay for a meeting she was calling with the other High Lords and the humans. Feyre asks at the beginning of the meeting that she wants to renegotiate the treaty.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 80. The gang is back in Valaris. Can you even believe it?
Wild.
Amryn is still Amryn. Nesta is still traumatized, but Elaine is actually cracking jokes and making plans to create more gardens for the world. The gang opens up the expensive bottles of liquor, and they seem to be trying to bring back some normalcy to their lives. Chapter 81. We get a Rhys POV, and he seems to be dealing with the aftermath of the battle and dying, loving the sounds of his family, but not quite believing that he's actually alive and back with his family and me. It is real, Rhysand, and thank God you are alive.
Thank God.
And then our final chapter of this book, chapter 82, and of course it comes back to our girl, Feyre. She and Rhys have the cutest interaction and talk to end our book, and I cannot wait to discuss this in the plot section later. Heart, eyes, love them forever and ever. The end.
I can't believe it's over.
I know. It's so crazy, so crazy.
It went by too fast, even though it's been 7 weeks.
But honestly, it has been the fastest 7 weeks. I feel like it took us longer to do ACOTAR
I agree.
than ACOWAR.
I agree. It's crazy.
So crazy. Well, Amanda, will you please do us the honors in talking about our characters and world building for the last time?
For the last time for ACOWAR, here we go. I'm going to start with Vassa for the characters section. Rhys asked Draken if Vassa was still cursed, and he told them to see for themselves. They saw her spread its wings wide, trailing sparks and ember across the waves, a firebird, burning as hot and furious as the heart of a forge. After the battle is over, Vassa gives her condolences to Feyre for the loss of her father. She asks Feyre if she can break the curse for her, and Feyre agrees to try. She also plans to discuss the threat that the other queens pose.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that will be a theme in our last book, but we'll save that for later.
Yeah.
Vassa also offers Durian a spot on her court, but he's hesitant to agree. She is still cursed, and he thinks she will eventually have to return to the lake. So we'll see what happens with that.
I know. I feel like that's Jurian's best option, though, is to go be a part of Vass's court and actually help her out while she's not there if she has to go back to the lake.
Yeah, because she's still for the humans, even though she's cursed with this firebird thing going on during the day.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's his best bet.
Mm-hmm.
The King of Hybern was praising Straga, telling her she was beautiful, magnificent, and then grabbed her face and snapped her neck and threw her to the Naga hounds, who ripped her apart. What a brutal way to die.
I cannot even believe.
I can't even believe it either. That was shocking. I did not think. Because we had already lost the Bone Carver by this point.
Mm-hmm.
We lost another one. I was like, there's no way.
When I read this the first time around, I thought, are we going to lose all 3?
Yeah.
Well, we did kind of lose all 3 because we don't know where the hell Braxis is.
Yeah, we have no idea where he is. We actually lost him.
We actually lost him.
Yeah.
He's missing. He's a missing person, a missing monster.
Missing monster, yeah. The King of Hybern used their father as a human shield with a knife to his throat, and he ended up snapping his neck too to throw Nesta off, and it worked. Just death after death in this section.
Yeah, there was a lot of death.
Yeah. Elaine steps out of the shadows behind the king, who stood over Nesta and Cassian, and she rams Truth Teller through the back of the king's neck and snarled, "Don't you touch my sister."
Don't you do it.
Totally unexpected. I thought this was going to be Nesta killing the king, but I know you warned me that it was going to be a group effort, but I still was like, no.
No, my friend who's read the books is clearly lying to me.
I don't know if you're trying to throw me off or anything. No, but I was convinced. I knew it would be a team effort because of your hint, but I thought she would at least have the last blow. And Elaine really kind of does in this sense.
Yeah, she just chops his head off.
Yeah, she's just like, get the fuck off my sister.
Yeah.
Even though the king was dead, the army did not stop. The fury the king had raised in them, their belief that they had been wronged and forgotten, was real. They'd keep fighting. No solution would ever appease them beyond the complete reclaiming of what they still believed they were entitled to and deserved. This fucking army.
Yeah, they were all ramped up and they were excited to see who they could kill, who they were going to take on one-on-one. So yeah, they didn't even need the King of Hybern at this point to be this figurehead. I mean, that's basically all he was, is a figurehead. He had already done the dirty work and raised these armies to believe that they were in the right and to keep going even if he was gone.
Which was kind of, I feel like the inner circle really wasn't expecting that, because Cassian also kills a commander before this battle, and then the battle's over after that. So I feel like they kind of thought the same thing would happen, but instead, thank God for Amren, she just took them all out in minutes. Too bad.
Yeah, she sacrificed herself. Yeah. This inner circle loves to sacrifice themselves.
And then bitch at each other when other people do it.
Yes, yes.
Rhys shapeshifted into a beast that he had kept hidden. It was a thing of nightmares, nothing human or fae in it. It was a creature that lived in black pits and only emerged at night to hunt and feast. The face, it was those creatures that had been carved into the rock of the Court of Nightmares that made up his throne. The throne, not only a representation of his power, but what was within. Helion was a daytime equivalent. I can't even picture that. I need fan art for it.
I know.
I need to see it. It sounds scary.
I can't even picture Rhys in his animal form. Never mind Helion.
I know.
I don't know.
That would be cool to see like some fan art of them two together, night and day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think like all the High Lords started shifting, right?
Oh, really? I don't remember.
I think so. I'm pretty sure they all do, but those are the ones she actually saw change.
Interesting.
And obviously Tamlin is usually in his beast form.
He's always that wolf thing. Wolf monster.
Yeah. Wolf monster.
Rhys tells Feyre to be a conduit to fix the cauldron as she did to destroy it. She repaired the cauldron, but had basically siphoned the life out of Rhysand. Rhysand sacrifices himself to save the entire world and died as Feyre is repairing the cauldron with his power. Feyre is distraught that Rhys is dead, but she convinced all the High Lords to help him like they helped her, and they all eventually agreed. Feyre and Rhysand made a bargain that when it's time to go, they will go together. And then they soared into the sky together, flying smoothly and steadily. She can fly now.
She can fly. Though that bargain is so stupid. It's so dumb.
Now if one dies,
you are rulers of a territory. You can't make a stupid bargain like that. I get it will be devastating, right? To be without your mate. But now you're going to leave an entire territory without anyone who would take over. Maybe more or care. What are you trying to do?
They have to have an heir now.
My people, right? And then they'll make a dumb bargain like that.
I agree. Stupid. They'll leave it to Cassian and Azriel, I'm sure, before Mor, even though Mor, her family was in charge first.
Well, nobody would follow them. I'm sure it would go to Mor's family again, but it wouldn't go to Mor. It would go to Care first. She would have to kill Care to be the High Lady.
Interessante. Good point. Anyways, Cassian finally fucking kisses Nesta. Thank God.
Briefly,
but hey, lip on lip action happened. So I'm here for it. And I can't wait to see them too in the next book, our little Hallmark special. Can't wait. Nesta being Nesta too. I love this part. Spits on the king's corpse as it's picked apart by crows when they walk by it to go and mourn their father together, all three girls. Draken was fighting Jurian, an ancient score to settle. But Mor convinces them not to kill Jurian.
Yep, she does.
He does. So Jurian's going to be back in Silver Flames. I have no doubt about it. Amren said the Suriel had given Feyre a message for Amren and only for Amren. She wanted Feyre to unbind her with the cauldron's power, and she will wipe the army away, every last one of them. Varian obviously didn't want her to go through with it, but Amren said to Feyre, "Unleash me. Let me end this." The cauldron shattered into 3 pieces, peeling apart like a blossoming flower. And then she came. She paused and looked back at them, almost as if remembering them.
Mhm.
And then she was gone. But the power, it was fading, vanishing ember by ember. Yet Amryn went to the sea anyways. Entire boats full of hybrid soldiers fell after she passed. She reached the final boat and was no more than a flame on the breeze. And when that ship felt silent, there was only light dancing on the waves. That's when we lose Amryn. But Reese pulls
Yeah.
Amryn back to life and she comes back as High Fae. Her only complaint so
Yeah.
far is that she'll have to eat real food now. And Elaine says that she's even crankier than the old Amryn, so can't wait to see how she's going to be as High Fae.
Oh, I think Amryn is Amryn no matter what's inside of her.
Exactly, yeah. So, what actually is she? Does she have a name for what she is?
No, like,
Or
we
is she
didn't
just
even
like
get, like,
this?
a full description of her. She's like, "I think I see fiery wings with a halo crown or
Yeah.
light." Yeah, it was never even fully described what Amryn actually is.
Yeah, I just pictured this mist of fire, like almost exploding and just
Yeah.
moving,
Yeah.
flying through the air, killing everybody. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I didn't know if I missed exactly what she was because I'm like, what is she?
I don't know, it almost kind of reminds me of, like, a dragon because 'cause they've made so many references to, like, a fire drake and, like,
Yeah, that's
I feel
true.
like her eyes there, like, say, will slit and I don't know, scary.
Yeah, yeah.
She drinks
Interesting.
only drinks blood, I don't know, something from the depths of hell, I think is
Yeah.
what Amryn is.
Yeah, for real. Feyre and her sisters decide to bury their father together, just the three of them. Feyre also suggests hiding the cauldron in Crete so no one can lay claim to it or use it for evil again. She also wants to call a meeting with the humans in the Fae. The meeting was packed with high lords, princes, generals, commanders, humans, and Fae. Even Vassa attends the meeting. She tells them her whole story, and then Miriam and Draken tell theirs as well. I thought that was so brilliant to put at the end of the book.
Yeah. No.
Them trying to renegotiate the treaty. Obviously, it's going to take time, and they're going to have
Right.
to have multiple meetings. But I thought even Feyre having her head so level after that battle,
Mhm.
losing Reese and Amryn, obviously they're back, thank God, but still, it's got to be traumatizing in the moment. And no breaks, just call everybody. They still care about the humans. The wall is still down. We still got to figure out something.
Yeah, even
And
though the fighting is over, doesn't mean that the conflict is over between
exactly.
the Fae and the humans. So,
Yeah.
as activists or whatever for the humans,
Yeah.
they're protectors. Something needs to be done, and something needs to be put into place, at least in for Perithian and the human
Yeah.
lands that are attached to it.
Yeah, and I think it's a huge step for the humans in general to actually even be invited to the meeting. Because Durian shows up and Grayson and have
Hmm.
a bunch of humans that follow them. So
Yeah.
it's a step in the right direction, I think.
It is a step in the right direction that everybody showed up.
Yeah, for sure. Lucian is back and he has wild stories to tell Feyre. He takes up Elaine on her offer for him to come back to Valeris with them. Lucian tries to talk to Tamlin at the meeting, but he just walks past him without saying a word.
Ooh, icy.
I see. But before he returned to Valeris, Lucian wants to go make a stop, and we assume he's going to the Spring Court.
Yeah.
I also have a wild theory about this that I was just discussing with my cousin that I'll mention later. I don't know if it's wild, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
After the battle and the meeting, Elaine says she wants to build a garden because the world needs more of them. So she's still back to her bubbly, happy self again.
Yes.
Hopefully,
Hopefully.
the garden will bring her that joy back in her life
Right. Yeah.
because she was closest to the father, I think.
Yeah, she definitely was the closest.
Yeah, even though Nessa seems to be taking it the hardest, I think Elaine might be hurting too because of her
Yeah.
close relationship with him. I mean, they're obviously all hurting, but you know what I mean.
I think obviously everyone handles grief in different ways. And I
Yeah.
think Nesta has already kind of been vulnerable. And she's like, I did all of this. And then for what? People that I care about still died. And I
Yeah.
think that she didn't even think she knew she cared about him. Or maybe she doesn't. And she's upset with herself because she's not upset that he's dead.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll
I
definitely
think
have to pick Nesta's brain in the next couple books.
Yeah, for sure. I think too, guilt definitely plays a part. Even if she does care about him, she did treat him like shit for a long time. And it was deserved. It wasn't like
It
it
was
wasn't
well
deserved.
deserved.
But it's
Yeah.
not like they resolved it before he died. or she could
No.
say any differently to him before he died. So I could see how
Yeah.
it's a little iffy there on the guilt train.
Yeah, I just think this is like one other thing that has now happened to Nesta, and I think she's at her tipping point. I
Yeah.
think she's definitely going to be a mess.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. But that's all I have for our character section today. We'll obviously
Mhm.
dive a little deeper when we get to the plot. And for world building, I really only have your favorite section, Megan.
Fast magic?
Fast magic. Ooh, 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 ooh. Fast magic. Ooh,
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 ooh. One
ooh.
last fast magic for ACOWAR. Here we go. Feyre glamours herself and Amryn, and they head into the Hybern forces in search of the cauldron. Amryn's power flared again and again, breaking through the wards in their path. She was hungry for them and shattered them with a savage smile. Nesta had made her power rumble to lure the king to her and distract him so Amryn and Feyre could reach the cauldron. Feyre's hands were stuck on the cauldron. She flung her magic out, desperate for any change to the world to save her, keep her from being devoured by the eternal, awful thing that now tried to drag her into its embrace. Nesta blasted her power, the trees behind the king, to cinders, blasted across the battlefield in a low arc, then landed right in the Hybern rakes, taking out hundreds before they knew what happened. Go Nesta.
Right?
The thing in the cauldron, or lack of it, was absent and present, and it was leaking into the world. It was a void, but also a growth. Very yin and yang, this cauldron.
Mhm. It really
Like,
is.
wants to destroy the world, but also wants to make it grow. Which is it?
Which
It
is
was
it?
destroying it, I think, in the moment since the
Yeah.
cauldron was destroyed. And obviously, Feyre brings the cauldron back to life, which sucks the power out of Rhysand. And then Rhysand obviously gets help from all the High Lords, sort of like they did for Feyre, even though he doesn't have any other powers at this moment.
Mhm.
Feyre lets Rhys into her mind to see her father, Nesta, Cassian, the king, Amryn, all of it.
Mhm.
And that's all I have for our magic section. This
Wow.
is the shortest world building and character section yet. I mean, it is shorter in pages, but I feel like most of our discussion is going to happen in the plot. So I'll let you get started with it.
Oh my goodness. All right. Our final plot section of ACOWAR is here,
Yep.
darlings. So, cheers to you again.
Cheers.
Let's finish this strong.
Let's do it.
Chapter 72. Nesta and Feyre are both crying in Rhys and Cassian's arms while they're still flapping in the air at the sight of their father coming in to fight for them. And Draken's like, oh, so you're acquainted. And Rhys is like, meet Feyre and meet Nesta.
Yeah. Who the ships are named after.
Yeah, Elaine is freaking out on the ground. That's
Yeah.
Elaine. Reese wanted to know if Vass's curse had been ended, but like Amanda said earlier, we can see her flying as a firebird straight towards Hybern's fleet to destroy them.
Mhm.
Draken is going to bring his legion on land. And before he does that, Reese does warn Draken that Jurian is here, but he is fighting for the humans and not against them, which Draken seems
Iffy
like
about,
he
yeah.
doesn't believe it. Yeah.
Sketchy. That's sketchy.
Yeah. Draken tells Cassian that his legion, though, is for Cassian to command, and Cassian gives them orders. Feyre knows that she needs to go right now with Amryn to the cauldron. It's like a now or never sort of thing.
Mhm.
Nesta wants to use herself as bait to draw the King of Hybern away from the cauldron to look like she was going to use his power against them to draw him out. Cassian is going to go with Nesta to protect her, and Rhys tells them, no, absolutely not. No way in hell are you going.
Nope.
Cassian wants to repay Rhys for everything he did under the mountain, everything he has already sacrificed. And
Mhm.
Rhys is like, there is no debt to be repaid.
Yes, and this is my notable line for chapter 72, page 638. Cassian says, let us return the favor. Let us repay the debt. There is no debt to repay. Rhys's voice broke. The sound of it cracked my heart. Cassian's own voice broke as he said, I never got to repay your mother for her kindness. Let me do it this way. Let me buy you time. I can't. You can. You can, Rhys. Save some of the glory for the rest of us.
I know.
Just
I
shows
know.
like how close they all are. They would rather die for each other than see each other die.
Yeah. They're like,
Beautiful.
no, I'm going first. No, I'm going first.
Yeah.
But
Whoever
honestly,
goes first is dead. But
this was the
sure.
only way could happen because
Yeah.
Feyre and Amren needed the king away from the cauldron, and the only way he was going to come out was for Nesta or Rhys. And Rhys
Yeah.
had not bigger fish to fry because the king is the biggest fish, but he was more useful on the battlefields than dueling with the king. Well, maybe
Yeah,
not.
well, of
I don't
course,
know. It is a
I think
silly
he would.
plan.
I think he would be versus Nesta on the battlefield. So Nesta
Yeah.
has to play a part, then it should be the one that is best for her.
Yeah.
And
And
Reese should play the part that's best for him.
yeah, the king doesn't really necessarily want anything from Rhys. He wants something from Nesta because Nesta has the power of the cauldron that he needs.
Yeah, exactly.
So, the king might not come out to play with Rhys like he would for Nesta.
Right. Or not be as distracted
Right.
in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or he might not come right away when they needed him to go right now.
Yeah. And I'm sure he probably could have felt the cauldron being tampered with, maybe too.
Right. Yeah. Amren had showed Nesta what she would need to do to bring all of her power to her, so she was ready to go. Nesta looks down at Elaine and then says to Feyre, "Tell our father thank you," which honestly is so interesting that Nesta isn't going to go see Elaine before she basically goes to her death, because really there was no way out of that. It was not looking good. Like, Nesta and Cassian knew they were going to go over there and they were most likely going to die together.
I feel
And
like it would have been too hard for her to say goodbye to Elaine. That's probably why.
I know it would be, but poor Elaine.
I
Like, what the
know.
heck?
I know.
You're lucky she came and saved your ass in a couple of chapters.
But look how distraught Nesta is about the dad. Could you imagine her telling Elaine goodbye?
No, I know.
She's got to stay focused.
No,
I feel
know.
bad for Elaine, but I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to sacrifice themselves, and nobody thinks about anybody else's feelings in this book.
Yeah, exactly.
Feyre says Cassian may come back alive, which is interesting that she said Cassian may come back alive, or he might come back alive. That's all she says is he. And Rhys says no, he won't. But doesn't say anything about her sister, doesn't seem to be distraught at all that Nesta's probably going to die, the way Rhys is literally panicking that Cassian's going to be dead.
That's true. What the hell?
Like, I thought that was such a strange reaction from Feyre. And then to say he may come back alive. And Rhys is like, no, he won't. Maybe because he thought they would just protect Nesta until she could run, so Feyre wasn't worried about it. I don't know.
Or maybe she just thought that he obviously would hurt more if Cassian died versus Nesta. Like, obviously, she would be a mess. So Rhys would be a mess because Feyre was a mess. But if Cassian died, he would be a mess on his own.
Yeah,
You know?
I know, but it's not like Rhys tried to comfort Feyre in that moment, and
No.
she's comforting him about Cassian.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. But anywho,
Cassian probably would have got Nesta out alive, even if it meant killing himself.
Rhys winnows Elaine to the farthest part of their camp and kisses Feyre before taking to the skies into the middle of the battle. Amren tells Feyre to stay cloaked in the shadows and to run, and to try not to leave any bodies as a trail and not to look back. And Feyre didn't. Chapter 73. Feyre and Amren made their way up the hill as the battle raged around them. They could hear the commanders in the Hybern's army who wanted to take on certain people. They're like, oh, I'm going to fight Tarquin. Oh, I'm going to fight Helion. Oh, I'm going to fight Callius, whatever. It's like, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
So dumb. Striga was waiting for them at the top of the hill where the cauldron was, and she smiled at them, and then she went back and attacked the rest of the guards who were guarding the cauldron. It's just so interesting that she waited for them to get up there. She's like, I've been up here for a good minute. Where the hell have you guys been?
Literally.
As she was killing them, Feyre felt Nesta's power. The King of Hybern finally makes an appearance, and he walks up to the Weaver and snaps her neck. He then feeds her to the Naga Hounds, like we've both said earlier. It's just so shocking it needs to be said a third time.
I
Honestly
know.
insane.
I can't believe it.
All she said is bow. She wanted the king to bow to her, and the king's like, I think I'm going to snap your neck.
She should have known that that motherfucker was going to kill her.
I know. Well, it said she seemed surprised. Feyre thought the Weaver was surprised as the king snapped her neck or something. It's like, well, maybe you should have attacked him and then we could have been done with this a long time ago. But
Yeah.
whatever, Weaver.
Whatever, Weeva. Now it's too late. R.I.P.
The king could then feel Nesta's powers rearing up again, so he winnows off to Nesta. But before he does that, he looks off to the sea, and we'll know why in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The diversion worked, and Amryn and Feyre make their way to the cauldron. Feyre puts her hands on the cauldron and keeps reminding herself who she was. Amryn then kicks the book behind her and doesn't hand it to Feyre.
Interessante. And here's my notable line for chapter 73, page 643. Amryn had lied. She did not plan to leash the king or his army with the cauldron and the book. And whatever trap she had set, I had fallen right into it. This made me nervous.
Yeah, of course, because you're like, what is happening?
I was
Is
like,
Amryn
what?
a betrayer?
Yes, that's literally what I thought. I was like, what?
Yeah. Well,
Wild.
let's keep going. Chapter
Yes.
74. Amryn lied to everyone and she is apologizing to Feyre. Feyre's hands are now attached to the cauldron and it was not letting her go. It was dragging her across the battlefield to find Nesta just as the king was searching for her. Feyre, as the cauldron is kind of dragging her mind across the battlefield, can see how badly this battle is still going, even with the reinforcements with Draken and Miriam and even the army that Papa Archeron brought in. They are
Mm-hmm.
still losing. She sees Rhys transform into his beast form, and so did Helion. Rhys kind of is assessing the situation. He's like, shit, I have to give all I have now, just like the king basically said that I will have
Yeah.
to give everything in order to win this battle. So he goes back down to his most basic instinct or whatever that natural instinct to his predator form and
Yeah.
starts fighting people. Feyre and the cauldron found Nesta before the king did because obviously the cauldron and Feyre are way cooler than the king.
Yeah. Agreed.
Nesta was gathering all of her power and would strike the second that the king was in front of her. But as she goes to strike and the king winnows in, her powers diminish quickly because the king of Hybern appears in front of her and Cassian with a knife to Papa Archeron's throat.
No. I just thought they were going
No!
to get like this huge big redemption and then he doesn't even get the chance.
No, he doesn't even get to see his two other daughters. He only sees Nesta.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Obviously, Feyre is there in like spirit form with the cauldron, but she's not actually there. He can't see her or sense her.
Yeah, she's invisible to him.
Yeah. The king informs Papa Archeron that now all three of his daughters are high fae and that one of them married really well. Nesta asks the king not to kill her father. The king says, "What will you give me for it? Will you give back what you took?" And Nesta says, "Yes." Which is very surprising to me. I mean, not that I'm surprised that she would give up her powers for her family, but that it's for
Her dad.
Papa Archeron,
Yeah.
unless it's really for Elaine, because Elaine like loves him.
Well, I think it could be for him too because they just learned that he was doing everything in the continent for them the whole time and has the
Yeah.
ships named after them and came to fight in the war for them. So I'm sure it was partly for him too. I'm sure Elaine was definitely a thought though, but
Yeah.
yeah.
The king threatens to carve it out of Nesta, and the dad says, "Don't you lay a finger on her." And then the king snaps his neck. Doesn't even give Nesta a second to give the powers or do whatever, just snaps the dad's neck and he's dead.
But like,
Not coming back.
don't you think that would have made her more pissed and more powerful because you just angered her and awoken this beast?
He didn't just awaken the beast because she has not unleashed her powers yet.
No.
But right now, her powers are completely diminished now that she's staring at her dead father on the ground. Cassian, on the other hand, starts to go after the king, and the fight is not going well for Cassian. He wants Nesta to get out of Dodge as he basically is sacrificing himself for her. Nesta tells the king, "I am going to kill you." But the king says, "Really? There are much more interesting things that I can think of to do with you." Ugh,
Oh,
gross. So
disgusting.
gross.
Little
If
perv.
that was like Reese saying it, I would be like, oh my God.
She'd be like, me, pick me. Do it to
Yeah, but
me.
if the King of Highburn says it, absolutely not.
No,
Absolutely not.
no.
Nesta then throws all of her power out at him, and the king winnows just in time, but it takes out hundreds of the Highburn soldiers. And the king is very impressed by this. He's like, magnificent, untrained, but still efficient, you know?
Yeah,
Can you imagine what she will be able to do
I
if she does
know.
train that
Who's
power?
gonna be stronger than Resand?
Yeah, that might be why Reese and Nesta bump heads so much.
Oh,
The king and Nesta are now fighting by sword, and when Nesta eventually hits the ground and she lures him over by not getting up right away so that he is hovering over her, when she throws out the rest of her magic, making him fly across the woods.
yeah. Bye bye, King of Highburn.
Yes. Nesta cannot move Cassian. She runs back over to him once the king is still kind of flying through the trees. And she's like, I can't move you. But Cassian wants her to go because the king is now making his way back towards them. And Nesta says, I can't.
Yes, and this is my notable line for chapter 74, page 652. I have no regrets in my life, but this, that we did not have time, that I did not have time with you, Nesta. I will find you again in the next world, the next life, and we will have the time. I promise. Oh, I love Cassian.
That was such a good line. These men in these books
I
are
know.
so romantic. It ruins all men for everyone else.
Well, duh, women wrote them. It's
No, I know.
unrealistic.
It's like, oh, you love that man? Yeah, because it was written by a woman.
Yeah,
That's why you love that man, because
exactly.
no man is like this.
No, man. Hell no.
Literally, show me. Show me a man who is like this,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, all
Show
right,
me.
okay,
No,
show
there has to
me.
be more than one, or else it's still not real.
That's just the exception to the rule.
Exactly, yeah.
Nesta then covers Cassian's body with her own. They would go together. The king says, oh, how romantic. Ill advised, but romantic. And then he gathers up his powers to kill both of them. Literally, she throws herself over his body and he stiffens because he's like, fuck, she's really not gonna go.
Yeah.
And then he lays his hand on her back. Like,
Oh.
oh, but we don't have to worry about either of them dying
Thank
because
God.
Elaine fucking Archeron pops out of the woods with the truth teller and stabs the king through the throat and
Fuck
says,
yeah.
don't you touch my sister.
Fuck yeah, Elaine. We need to take a sip for her. I love Elaine in this
Yes,
moment.
cheers to
Cheers to
Elaine.
Elaine. Fuck yeah. With truth teller.
Savor of the day.
I should have known too, because I know you said to me, he never lends out truth teller. Never. You pointed that line out, and I'm like, nope, never. Right over my head.
Sometimes I try to help you out without
Yeah, but
helping
I
you
like
out.
that because I think it's fun. Get moments like this where
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
it's
well, yeah.
now I get it. Chapter 75, the cauldron liked being in Elaine's presence, which I think is so very interesting. Nesta, shocked, stood up and went to the king as Elaine ran over to Cassian. Nesta took Truth Teller and continued to sever the king of
Fuck
Hybern's
yeah.
head off. Yes. Literally, she lifts his head off the ground and holds it up like a fucking trophy.
Good. She
She's
should have
like,
kicked it into the ocean.
I know. What happened to the King of Hybern's body? Did they just leave it there after she spit on it in a couple chapters from now?
I think so.
So crazy. The cauldron realized what Elaine had done and helped the thief that stole from the cauldron, but the cauldron found her too lovely to really harm her or do anything about it. It's just so interesting that the cauldron is obsessed with Elaine, but
Well, I feel like too, and I just thought of this, but is Nesta and Elaine the good and the bad of the cauldron? Nesta got something bad out of the cauldron, but Elaine got something good out of the cauldron. So I feel like they're both part cauldron. If that's possible.
they're
Like she's
part
the good and
cauldron.
he's the bad.
Yeah.
So it's like, of course, the cauldron's gonna hate Nesta because she's the bad. and she's gonna love Elaine because she's the good.
Well, I wonder if the cauldron would not have any problems with Nesta if Nesta had just took what the cauldron gave her and not took extra.
True, that's true. But then would the balance be off because they both got two goods and not a good and a bad?
Well, we don't know if Elaine's power are good. We just
that's
know
true.
that the cauldron doesn't have any beef with her because she didn't take extra. Technically, the cauldron is like Elaine's dad. It made her and Nesta, but Nesta took too much, so the cauldron has a
Yeah.
score to settle. Because it's like the cauldron and the mother. I don't know. I feel like they're all intertwined, and maybe the mother is like
True.
mad at Nesta because she took too
Or
much.
is Feyre the mother now because she fixed the cauldron?
Who knows with these fantasy books? Like, I think like we won't know until we are supposed to know.
Because doesn't she mention something about the painting and how the
Hands of the
hands were like
mother.
out, and then those were her hands?
Yeah.
So is she the fucking mother now? Feyre is mother.
She's mother. The cauldron is now bringing Feyre back across the battlefield. She could see that Rhys was faltering. Draken and Miriam, though, were fighting Jurian as they're losing the war. Because that's important, guys.
Yeah.
Fighting Jurian, who is actually fighting the bad guys.
Yeah, that's your ally. What are you doing?
I just think it was not the time and the place. Obviously, they didn't know if they were going to make it out of this battle. So maybe that's why they're like, we have to take our revenge now. But what Jurian did that bad to Miriam and Draken? That's like what I just don't understand.
No, but maybe they think too, because Jurian ended up being a traitor to them, right? Or because they were working together with him at first, and then once they fell in love, Jurian hated them. So maybe he thought that Jurian would do the same thing to the inner circle and was like, nah, we're getting his ass now.
Yeah, but Jurian never did anything bad towards them. He went to his death basically fighting Amarantha for the good of the humans. So
yeah, that's true.
It's just really interesting that they would have this bad of beef with Jurian when he didn't. It's not like he attacked Miriam.
Right. No, he didn't. He just left her to fall in love with somebody else. Literally, that's what he did.
He's probably just mad. Or obviously, Jurian doesn't like Draken, and Draken can hate Jurian. But I don't know if that means you fight Jurian to the death when you're in the middle of trying to save Prythian and save from Highburn being dictators. I just don't think that this is the proper time and place.
Yeah, I agree. You're right.
Amren wants Feyre to get it together and to take control of the cauldron. And Feyre tells her that the king is dead and now she will be soon too, because Feyre is not playing games. She's like, you lied to me. You betrayed me. I don't know why you did that, but I don't even want to hear your excuses. You're going to be dead. As soon as I get my hand off this cauldron, you're done. Amren says that she needs Feyre to be a conduit to unleash her from her high face skin that she is in. The spell the Suriel gave her was not to control the army, but an unbinding spell for Amren. That's why it was for Amren's eyes only. Varian finds them. He's like panting. He's out of breath. He's like, and Amren's like a dog on a scent. Literally will not leave Amren be.
Literally.
And he is begging Amren to not go through with this. Feyre,
she likes it though.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, he's here for me. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Feyre says that Amren will not remember them though if she helps her do this. Amren knows this, but she needs to be the one to end this war that they are currently losing. She's like, listen, bitch, I'm the only one that can end this battle. We're losing. Do you want everyone to die or are you going to unleash me?
Yeah. And here's my notable line for chapter 75, page 658. And this is Amren talking. But I wonder if my father knew, if he saw how I watched them love and hate and build and open that rip in the world, not as punishment, but as a gift. For it has been a gift, this time with you, with all of you. It has been a gift. Tell the High Lord to leave out a cup for me. I will. I watched them most, the humans who loved. I never understood it, how it happened, why it happened. I think I might have learned with you, though. Perhaps that was a last gift, too, she said to Varian. Oh, she loves Varian.
She loves him.
She loves them all, but she loves Varian.
Yeah. Amren says when she is free not to run from her and that she is glad she met Feyre. Amren hauls herself into the cauldron, and as Amren is being unleashed, the cauldron breaks into three and Amren emerges in her beast form. Amryn looked at Feyre and Varian to say to them, I remember you. Then she starts
Yeah.
killing the rest of the Hybern army and all of their ships before her light faded out and she was gone.
Wild. She took out the whole army. Holy strongness. 200,000 soldiers.
Well, at that point, there's not that many left. I mean, there's still
No,
a
but maybe
lot.
150,000.
Yeah.
That's still a lot.
Well, I have to imagine between the Weaver, the Bone Carver, Braxis, Rhys shot splitting the army in half already. Then
Mm-hmm.
Asriel. Then they were already been fighting for a while. Then Nesta killed a couple hundred. So I don't know how many are left, but I'm sure
But
there's
weren't
still a
more
lot. But
coming? More were coming still on the boats too.
yeah, I think they were all still on the boats because the boats that Papa Archeron brought started probably battling them. I don't think they ever made it to
That's true.
land. Maybe they
Yeah.
did, but I don't know.
But she does kill them too, Amryn,
Yeah.
because she goes to the sea
But
last.
she still killed a lot of people. I just have to imagine that hopefully that the group put a decent dent into them before Amryn saved the day.
They got a quarter of them. No, they
Yeah.
probably got half. Amryn probably got
Yeah.
half. Yeah.
Chapter 76. Varian is upset that Amryn is gone and they need to go meet up with the rest of the High Lords to just be like, okay, this
Now
war
what?
is over.
Yeah.
What do we do now? The
Yeah.
cauldron, though, is now broken into three and was leaking that black, inky void into the worlds. Rhys finds Feyre and is looking her over to make sure she was okay. He was like, oh my god, you released Amryn? But he was barely standing on his feet. Feyre lets Rhys into her mind to see everything that happened while she was locked into the cauldron. And Varian's like, guys, we have a problem. The void is getting bigger and bigger. Feyre looks to the book but couldn't understand it, so she chucks it into the void. And Rhys is like, that's one way to do it. Rhys tells Feyre that she could be a conduit again and to reforge the cauldron. Rhys said that he would let Feyre use his powers to help rebuild the cauldron because they are both drained and he would assist. So it just seems like, they're both tired, they're both drained, but the two of them together will be strong enough instead of just one to reforge this cauldron.
Yeah, he tricks her. I think he knows the whole time that he's going to
Oh,
die.
for sure. He definitely
Yeah.
knows. That's why his
Yeah.
shields are up.
Yeah.
Feyre remembered a spell that Amryn had told her, and if she could rearrange a few words, then she thinks it might work. And this is when Rhys says, that's the spirit.
Yeah.
Rhys was holding on to Feyre, feeding her his power, and he makes a joke to remind him not to get on Nesta's bad side. Feyre notes that Rhys's shields were all the way up, like would not let her in, even though she tried.
Yup. Sketchy. Should have known something was going
Right?
on.
Feyre starts to heal each crack one by one until the cauldron is whole again. While this is happening, Rhys keeps whispering in her mind that he loves her. But it was because he was gonna die, not because
I
he's just
know.
encouraging her, which she thinks, oh,
True.
he's encouraging me, and he's dying behind her.
And here's my notable line for chapter 76, page 666. 666.
Yeah,
And
did
he
you not
dies.
notice that? I thought
Ooh. I
I think
didn't.
was done on purpose by Sarah.
Yeah, probably. That thing that rose and fell with each breath, echoed each heartbeat. The mating bond. It wasn't there. It was gone. Because his own chest, it was not moving. And Rhys was dead.
When I read that the first time, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
So I was more confused than anything. I was shocked, but also like, there's no way. Because number one, Megan cried when the cereal died. Like, she actually cried. We read every chapter together. So she cried. And she doesn't even bat an eye when Reese died. She's like, yeah, he's dead. He's dead right now. I'm like, no, he's not. There's no way.
I know.
Plus, I was like, there's more books. Like, there's no way. There's no fucking way. And Megan's like, okay, well, then we got to keep reading. She's like, you're not convinced. It's fine. Let's go.
I don't know. I could not muster up tears. I tried. And then I was like, maybe I can try to trick her a different way. But she's like, bitch, you're obsessed with Rhysand. Like, you cried for the cereal who you were like okay about. And you don't cry when Rhys is dead.
Yeah, I was like, no. But I also didn't even pick up on that with Amryn because she didn't cry when Amryn died either. But
Yeah.
So I should have known for Amryn. But when Rhys died and she didn't cry, I was like, yeah, there's no fucking way.
Whoops. Anyways, moving on, like I said to her the first time, chapter 77. Feyre is freaking out and sobbing hysterically because Rhys is not breathing and he is dead. And I was not hysterically crying over breathing.
Yeah, nobody else was hysterically crying except for Feyre.
Thesan checks him to see if there's anything that can be done. And Feyre starts yelling at all of the High Lords to bring him back how they brought her back. They tell her it's not the same. You were a human. They cannot do what they did for her. But Feyre is having none of it. And I think Moore is like, well, whatever Feyre wants, fucking Feyre gets at this point.
Just fucking try at this point. Like, why not just try? You never know. If it's not going to work, then it doesn't work. But you got to fucking try. And I honestly saw this coming
you
too.
Did. You said it before it happens.
I was like, he's definitely not dead, and they're definitely going to bring him back the same exact way they brought.
Well, they're all standing there, so obviously that was what was going to happen. Because when are they all standing there together?
Exactly.
Barely ever.
And also, I feel like this is a good thing for all the High Lords to know too. Like, if any of them dies, they can just bring each other back to life
if they're all in agreement.
Any of them, if they're all there, which means they have to band together and be one. And rule together.
Yeah, well, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Tarquin.
These High Lords and their drama.
These men.
Yeah.
Tarquin is the first to give his power saying for what he gave. I really like that saying. That's what they said for Feyre too. And I just really like that that's how they put it for what he gave for what she gave. The other High Lords step forward and give their power, and Moore basically forces Baron forward. She's like, I don't mind killing one more person today, so move it on forward. And then Feyre gives her power, which it takes her a second because she has never done this before. And it's interesting that she just couldn't use her own power since she has the power of all 7 High Lords within her, that she couldn't be the only one that's like, bloop, you're alive.
Yeah, for real. But I feel like in this moment, she's like the Night Court High Lord or High Lady doing it for them.
Yes. Yeah. And then finally, they realize why he is still not alive, because Tam Tam has not given his power yet. But he's standing there, and Feyre looks up to him and begs him that she will do anything, give him anything to bring him back. And Tamlin steps forward. He doesn't really say anything until he finally, after I feel like a really uncomfortable minute, says, be happy, Feyre, and drops his kernel of power into Rhysand. Wow.
Talk about drama.
But like, how big of Tamlin at the end of the day to give this to Feyre?
Yeah, this is how you know he's not actually evil. Yeah. Like, he's not evil. He's a good person, just has literally the most shittiest fucked up way to do good things.
I know. It kind of makes me feel bad a little bit for how much people shit on him, how much I shit on him, because the only reason why Rhysand is alive is because of Tamlin, really.
Of Tamlin. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm so conflicted on him. I've said forever, though, even after I first read the books, and me and my friend Amy talk a lot about this, that I wouldn't mind Tamlin having a redemption arc, and we've talked about this, but yeah, I just think he just has so many problems. Does he do things the right way? No, but I don't think he's a villain, and you'll hear my explanation on that next week.
Oh,
Rhys is now alive. Thank God.
Thank the cauldron.
The cauldron and the mother.
And the mother, yes. And here's my notable line for chapter 77, page 671. If we're all here, either things went very, very wrong or very right. You lot will be pleased to know my power remains my own. No thieving here. Like, way to break the ice smoothly, Rhys.
Yeah. Helian's like, you always knew how to make an entrance. Jesus Christ. Feyre is having a hard time believing that Rhys is actually alive and breathing again. And he says, it's real. This is real. Rhys is breathing again. And he tells Feyre that there is one more surprise, that Amren was back. And Moore pulls her out of the newly reforged cauldron. He's like, can someone grab dear old Amren cauldron? She's really like, hello?
Yeah.
Help me.
She's like, woohoo, over here. Hi, Faye, and I'm hungry for real food
Yeah.
now.
They're like, "How did this happen?" And Reese said that he just reached out a hand to see if she had wanted to come back with him, and she did. Amryn is now
Aw.
just a normal high fae. Varian is happy, and Amryn smiles at Feyre, and she wonders if this was a gift to her, that it had all been a gift.
Aw. So do we think Amryn and Varian are
I
mates?
don't know if they're mates, but they're definitely lovers.
Does she have technically a mate, not being
I
high
mean,
fae?
she
Yeah, I
is
guess
she is
because
now.
Feyre was human. Yeah,
So now
it's
she's
true.
fully high fae, so maybe it will snap. I don't know. We'll see.
Snap. Yeah. Interessante.
Interessante
I hope
indeed.
so. I hope so. I literally love Varian. We never see him ever, but I love that he loves her so
I
much.
know. It takes a special sort of person to love Amryn.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like I'm Amryn. It takes a special type of person to love me.
Chapter 78. The Archeron sisters are going to go and say their final goodbyes to their father, but Feyre is having a very hard time letting go of Reese since he returned to the living.
She's like, "You're not going out of my
Yeah, you
sight."
come with me right now. Cassian was surprisingly up and somewhat patched together on his way to the healer when Nesta is just watching. So Nesta is back to just observing Cassian, not speaking to him. She's like, okay, you're alive. My job is done. Now I can go back to ignoring you. As they were walking back to their father, Nesta spits on the King of Highburn. Elaine washes her father's face and combs his hair and then lays flowers on his chest.
Aw.
Feyre then recites the Perithian prayer to her father before using her firepower to burn him. Moment of silence
Crazy.
for Papa Archeron.
Yes.
Okay. Lucian enters
Okay.
back into the story, finding the sisters after they had said their goodbyes to their father. Lucian tells them that he's sorry for their loss. We learn Lucian made it out of the battle unscathed, and he never wants to be in a battle ever again. Because he didn't fight in the
Same,
first war,
Lucian.
so he's like, I'm a one
True.
and done. I am never doing this again.
That's true, yeah.
Feyre gives him a tight hug and thanks him, even though that's probably, like she says, not the embrace that he wanted.
Yeah.
Lucian says the curse about Vasa is true, and their father had negotiated a temporary deal for her to come here, which is just so interesting that if that is the bone carver and the weaver's brother, that he's like, yeah, well, we can make some deals and she can temporarily
Yeah.
leave her in captured state with me here to come help fight in the battle. I just think that's like really interesting.
Especially because he's human, and he could have just taken him
Yeah, or
too,
just
and
killed him.
yeah. So that is interesting. I wonder how
Well, I
that went
guess he's the
down.
prince of merchants for a reason. He knows how to wheel and deal.
True. Very true.
Aline joins Feyre and Lucian on their walk back to the camp, but Nesta stays where the father's burn patch now is. Feyre wants to know what Lucian is going to do now.
And here's my notable line for chapter 78, page 676. Feyre says, "So where now? Off with Vasa?" And Lucian responds, "First here to help. Then who knows?" And Elaine chirps in with, "You could come to Valeris. It would be my pleasure," he says. Ooh. I also have a theory about them that I feel like now is the time to
Okay.
say. It was actually my cousin's theory. She's the one that said it, and I was like, whoa, you're right, I think. So Lucian makes a comment about going to see Tamlin at the end of
Right.
this. And we know that Elaine belongs in the spring court. She is obsessed with flowers. And I know this whole time we've been saying that we think Tamlin is Elaine's mate, but what if something happens to Tamlin
Mhm.
and he ends up leaving the spring court to Lucian, and that's how she ends up in the spring court?
Maybe.
That would be wild.
But what about the day court? Because Lucian's the only heir there.
I know. Well, he doesn't know that yet. So is he ever going to find that out?
I don't
Does he find it
know.
out?
He didn't find it out now.
Maybe. He doesn't know yet. So I feel like she has to end up in the spring court. She has to.
Yeah.
Nesta's the flames with the drawer. The drawer is like stuck in my head.
I know.
Elaine has the flowers and Nesta has the flames. Feyre has the night court. She has to end up in the spring court.
I know.
They would do flowers for day court, maybe? I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
feel like day court would be something else.
Like the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but to end this chapter, Feyre goes back to her tent to change, but inside her tent, chatting with Reese, was Draken and Miriam. Oh
Mm-hmm.
boy. Chapter 79. Draken and Miriam get to officially meet Feyre. Rhysand was
Mm-hmm.
just telling them Feyre's story.
I actually think I pulled out a foreshadowing line. Actually, both of us did, I think.
Hmm.
79, page 679. It's just Feyre's point of view. I don't think she says this out loud, but she's thinking to herself, one day, not tomorrow or the day after, but one day I wanted to hear their tale in full.
Yep.
Do we think that's foreshadowing for a Draken and Miriam novella or book?
I think so. I don't think it'll be a book, but I think it will be a novella, and I'm ready for it.
I'm ready for it. I hope we're right about that.
Yeah. We learned that they did not kill Jurian because Moore stopped them, saying they had bigger fish to fry than their revenge, which thank God for Moore in this scene. Feyre is very excited that Nefel is here because she had just been an inspirational story before, but now she is here in Perithian.
That's wild. It's like meeting your idol almost because she gained the courage to fly that day.
Because of
She did
Nefel.
have a little boost from Talon, but yeah, it was all because of Nefel. So
Feyre asks Draken and Miriam to take the cauldron back with them to Crete so that it will never fall into the hands of the wrong person again. Which I know that Rhys trusts them, but honestly, it's just so interesting that they're going to trust them with such a big object.
but I also feel like it's only because their island is hidden. It's not like they don't know they can go there now.
Yeah, no, I know. We learned that Draken and Miriam would be staying for a few more days, which is good because Feyre wants to call a meeting. A day later, they get everyone to agree to the meeting. High Lords, their entourages, and the humans all have agreed to meet. They are holding the meeting at Feyre's broken family estate. As people start to show up to the meeting, the Night Court were standing greeting people as they came in. Tamlin walks in and says nothing to no one, doesn't even look at anyone except Lucian, who is currently wearing Illyrian leathers. But he
Mm-hmm.
just keeps on walking by and does not say anything to Lucian, which Lucian's like,
Well, Lucian does say Tamlin, like
yeah,
he says his name, and then nothing.
yeah.
Crazy.
Jurian and Grayson show up, but Grayson still continues to ignore Elaine like she never existed.
Fuck this guy. I hate him.
Literally, how is he
I wish
still
he died in
alive?
the battle.
Me too. Why didn't the cauldron take him out and help
I
Elaine?
know.
Help Elaine out. You love
Literally.
Elaine so much. Take out the loser.
True. Like you had to kill the dad, but not fucking Grayson.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, it wasn't the cauldron, I guess. It was the king that killed the dad, but still.
Yeah. Vasa shows up last, wanting to speak with Feyre about breaking her curse. Feyre doesn't know if she can break the curse, but they could look into it. Maybe Helion could help them, etc.
They could figure it out. She's favorite curse
She
breaker.
is Feyre Curse Breaker. Vasa says they can look into her curse and the queen's to see what they would do now that Hybern was no longer an ally. Nesta watched this interaction, wanting to know if the queens would interfere, and Vasta seems to think that they would. Feyre wants Nesta to go into the meeting because she was the guest of honor for killing the king, which honestly, Elaine should be getting more praise than Nesta for killing the
I
king.
know. It's true.
Nessa's also the Night Court emissary, and just Feyre wants her to be in there with her. Feyre
Hmm.
holds out her hand for Nesta to take, and Nesta does take it, and they walk into this meeting together. So even though Nesta's in her feels and is being Nesta, she is there for her sister and goes into this meeting
Yeah,
because Feyre asked her to. Feyre then
that's what.
starts the meeting.
And this is my notable line for chapter 79, page 687. My name is Feyre Archeron. I was once human and now I am Fae. I called both my worlds my home, and I would like to discuss renegotiating the treaty. Whew, heavy, but also badass. And before we start chapter 80, I have to ask a question.
Okay.
What the fuck happens to Hybern's land now? Because literally they're all dead.
I don't know.
Dun dun dun.
Well, do you think that everybody from Hybern went over there? I'm sure there's women and children that
Yeah.
didn't come.
True, I guess that's true.
So they might
The women
just
and the children.
rebuild.
Guys, Hybern didn't have women and children in the soldiers.
Well, I'm sure,
the way this guy fucking.
right? Well, they might have. I don't know. I'm just thinking. He probably
Yeah.
didn't take everyone.
No, you're right. He wouldn't have, because then he would have lost his land regardless if they lost.
Yeah. All right. Chapter 80. That first meeting went on for hours, and there were a lot of feelings involved. And though nothing was officially decided on, it was a starting place. Feyre told them all her whole story, and others told their story, and the High Lords argued per usual. As everyone was kind of shuffling out after this meeting was over, Jurian says goodbye to Feyre. He was offered a place in Vass's court, even though he wasn't sure how well it would thrive since it was a kingdom with a cursed queen. Jurian
Mhm.
does think, though, that there is hope for peace between the humans and the Fae and getting this treaty renegotiated at some point. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, I feel like he'll still be an ally.
Yeah, for sure. He knows that he can trust them and they can trust him in return now.
Exactly. Yeah, they all know they're all have good intentions across the board.
Yes. The inner circle returns to Valoris after dismantling their war camp. Amryn is complaining that now she will have to eat real food, and she is surprised that Nesta didn't take the king's head with her to be mounted on her wall. When Morris said that joke was in bad taste, Amryn reminds her that she saved all of their asses and she can say whatever she wants. And this is when Elaine makes the comment that new Amryn is even crankier than old Amryn. And Feyre starts bursting out laughing because Elaine made a joke, an
Yeah,
actual joke.
I know.
This is like how we reacted when Tamlin made a joke. So this is
I
why
know.
maybe they're the same person.
True.
They
True.
all decide that I don't know if they all decide, but Cassian decides that they're going to open the fancy bottles of liquor now that they are all back. Feyre is still in disbelief that they are back, and Rhys makes a comment like, "This is real, and I'll prove it to you later." Ooh!
Oh, okay, Reese. Prove it to me too.
Yeah, me too. Feyre tells us Lucian stayed back to help the wounded, but he had a pit stop to make, and then he would head back to the Night Court.
Yes, and here's my notable line for chapter 80, page 692. As for Tamlin, I had not spoken to him, had barely seen him after he told me to be happy and given me back my mate. He left the meeting before I could say anything, so I gave Lucian a note to hand to him if he saw him, which I knew he would. There was a stop that Lucian had to make before he came here, and I knew where he meant. My note to Tamlin was short. It conveyed everything I needed to say. Thank you. I hope you find happiness too. Love a little cordial breakup, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's resolved now. Everyone has had their
Exactly.
closure, and
Yeah.
it is resolved in my eyes.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Nesta leaves them all to go to their room. Elaine tells Feyre that they need to help her. Feyre agrees and says that they will, but not today. Nesta needs to sort through her own thoughts, but they would be there to
Mhm.
step in when needed, which I don't know if that was the right approach, knowing what I know now. So I
Interessante.
know that Nesta is Nesta, and Nesta kind of has to like sort through her own
Yeah,
feelings
like,
and
I feel like she would
thoughts.
just lock the door if they were knocking on it or something.
No, I know, but I wish that they didn't just like leave her be. I think
Yeah.
that they should have followed her up there, even if she kept the door locked in their face. Just my opinion.
No, I agree. That's your sister at the end of the day. You wanna make sure she's okay before you leave her
Yeah,
to her
if
own
that was
thoughts
my own
and
sister, like I would have maybe paused, given her a minute to go on up the stairs, and then I would have followed her and
or checked on
checked
her
on
and,
her.
like, a little bit
Yeah,
yeah.
but not say not today.
We'll talk to her tomorrow.
Yeah. So Elaine says to the group, "What now?" And she also says that she wanted to create more gardens, that the world needs more gardens, and Feyre agrees that it does. Chapter 81. This is a Rhysand POV chapter. He is in the kitchen listening to all his family laughing, just enjoying the normal feeling, especially hearing Feyre's laugh.
Mhm.
Cassian and Azriel come in to get him in the kitchen and hand him a drink. And Rhys is like, "Oh, you really did break out the good liquor. Great." Azriel understands why Rhys needed a moment and just to listen to them. Azriel reminds him that this is real. Rhys says, "Let's not do this for another 500 years."
Yeah.
Cass
I agree.
wants to know what they're going to do until then. And Moore is in the living room, like yelling for the boys to bring them food. Lots of bread,
Yeah. They're gonna need it after the good liquor.
right?
And here's my notable line for chapter 81, page 695. Until then, I said to my brothers, slinging my arms around their shoulders and leading them back to the sitting room. I looked ahead towards that laugh, that light, and that vision of the future Feyre had shown me, more beautiful than anything I could have ever wished for, anything I had wished for. On those long days, solitary nights, with only the stars for company, a dream still unanswered, but not forever. Until then, we enjoy every heartbeat of it.
Oh.
Aw.
Oh.
Honestly, though, I kind of wanted more from Rhysand's POV chapter.
I know.
Like, why put one in if you're not going to give us something good?
No, I know.
It was like sweet and nice, but I was like, aw, I wish we knew a little more from him,
I
from
know.
his POV.
I know. But these are female driven point of views.
I understand.
Chapter 82, our last chapter in ACOWAR.
Wild. How is it over? I'm
I
sad.
know. Here we go. We are back to Feyre's POV. Feyre finds Rhys sitting outside on those metal chairs looking up at the sky. I feel like they always have these like decompressing conversations out there. Feyre
Yeah.
slides into his lap and she's wearing a new fun lingerie from the shop she got for
Ooh.
free for saving them from Highburn. Rhys is like, we're rich, like filthy rich. And she's like, so what? Free is free.
Yeah, if it's free, it's for
And
me.
he's like, well, thank God someone has a head on their shoulders because the rest of this family is going to put me into debt. Rhys tells Feyre that even in death that he heard her and everything she said to him made him want to stay longer.
Oh, yeah. I love that part.
I know.
And here's my notable line for chapter 82, page 697. Never lie to me again. Not about that. And Rhys says, but about other things? I pinched his arm hard enough that he left and batted away my hand. I couldn't let all you ladies take the credit for saving us. Some male had to claim a bit of glory so you don't trample us until the end of time with your bragging.
So annoying.
Fucking Rhysand.
Feyre says when the time comes that they will go together. I can't with this bargain. I really can't.
I
And
know.
then they make a bargain, which now she has the tattoo back on her left hand. He has one, but it doesn't start at his fingers. And he's like, I just missed it on your hand. So now it's back. Rhys tells Feyre that she's going to have to go and find Braxis, though, and drag his butt back to the library. She's going to have to put up, like, missing posters. Have you seen a terrifying creature? Please contact
Yeah.
Feyre, the High Lady of the Night Court. But this beautiful book and chapter ends with them kissing and Rhys shooting them up into the sky. Feyre brings out her wings and they are both flying together over Valaris, their home. Rhys brushes his
Aww.
wings with hers and Feyre thinks it's been a gift. All of it. Oh, I got chills. I got chills. End of ACOWAR and Feyre's point of view.
I also love that last scene because Rhys also mentions when his mother was alive, they would fly all together at night and be so happy and bliss. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like a cute little
It's just beautiful, right? Because
savory moment for them.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he didn't know he was going to end up with a mate that was going to be able to fly or be able to
Yeah.
conjure these wings because of her shape shifting gift. So it's
Yeah.
just almost like bittersweet for him to be able to do this now with his mate when he used to do it with his mom, who he lost
Yeah,
tragically.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful. I love these stories. I could read them over and over and over and over again. I can't wait to do another reread next year. No, just kidding.
I know,
We'll do
right?
the podcast
Enough
all
time.
over again. We'll start from ACOTAR.
Megan, just go back and listen to the episode.
No, we'll
I'm
see.
just
We'll see
kidding.
if your opinion changes. We'll redo everything from the beginning again.
Yeah, once I know everything.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I can't believe we're here at the
I know
end.
it's done.
I didn't write any predictions, but I will mention I do think that the queens having a threat that they pose will also be some kind of foreshadowing for maybe not the Hallmark book, but definitely for the next one after that, the fourth book, Silver Flames.
Yeah.
So I will throw that in there for my predictions. And that's all we have for you today. I can't wait to discuss our final thoughts for the entire book and then get to the next one. Please let us know what you think by leaving us a review and comments on any of the platforms you are listening/watching on or on our social media pages. This helps tremendously to get the word out and lead more listeners to find our show and tune in.
Yes, don't forget to email, follow, subscribe, and rate us 5 stars and tell all your friends about us. And we hope the rest of your day is blissful. Bye!
Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week where we start Part 8 of A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, discussing our final thoughts for the entire book. Happy reading!